So the next section then is for warnings. How do we resolve warnings? So if we have a look at the details for warnings, you can see we have view and resolve, just like we did a moment ago. When we open the details, you can see the page is different. It is actually transaction. So it takes us where we can view invoices that have already passed VAT compliance checks and where we can visualize the content. So open the invoice, you can see here, unlike when we're dealing with errors earlier, we cannot click on a node here and make a change. However, we can review all the information that has been provided, and then we have some actions that we can take from here. We can either delete, in which case the invoice will be completely deleted from VAT reporting. And in order to review that invoice again, you will need to re-upload that transaction. You can force the transaction to an error. If having reviewed the documents, you feel something is incorrect and you need to make a change, then you can force it to error, and then it will be moved up to the error category. And from there, you can click on the nodes and make the change as appropriate. You can always redeliver. In case, for example, something is not correct, maybe a settings was incorrect, and then you make a settings change, and then you can just redeliver the transaction against it. You can always export the transaction as well for your own review. So that's how you would resolve using view and resolve. That's how you resolve a warning using view and resolve. The other option, of course, is if you click on an error group, on a warnings group, apply to selected becomes available as well. There are certain things that can be done here, others can't. So you can see you cannot bulk find and replace, but you can you can disable specific checks, for example. So these ones here, if you wish and you're not interested in updating the VAT numbers, having reviewed them, you feel like it's not relevant for you, you have to click only one. You can always come here and delete the VAT number check, for example. So let's go ahead and resolve and review this warning here, and then see if there's anything meaningful that comes from that. So it says the sum of deductible and non-deductible VAT does not match the total VAT. So essentially, the deductible VAT and non-deductible VAT, when we add those two values, we do not get the total VAT amount. So let's have a look. And the clue for this specific item is usually to look at something called booking information. Because on the document totals, you can see here, you have the taxable basis, but here you have the taxable basis and you have the VAT amount, you can see here, but you do not have the deductible VAT, and you don't have the deductible VAT there on display. By clicking on additional document data, you can see how the item was booked. This information is just miscellaneous information. You cannot do anything with that information per se to make a change. However, it gives you insightful information that you can utilize to know exactly what change you can go ahead and make. So here we had a taxable basis of 1,000. The VAT amount which came on the invoice was 0. That's correct. You can see here that the deductible VAT account dead VAT is 0, while the account rev VAT, which is the reverse VAT, is 210. So the amount of the deductible VAT amount is missing. And that's the reason there is a conflict here. So something is not correct with this invoice. Of course, you will have checked that with the original invoice on the ERP system. And now you can come here and then take an action. Of course, something is not correct on that invoice, so it needs to be changed. And as I said earlier, to make the change, you need to force the document to become an error so that the nodes become available, and then we can make the changes. So let's go ahead and do that. We will always have to justify why we're doing that. So we're going to write here updating deductible VAT. False to error. And then we go back to errors and warnings. Make sure that all our filters are available. Wait a little bit while the transaction is being loaded. It's January to March. And then you can see we can now see forced move to error, and that was the document that we have moved to error. Naturally, this will remain here at the bottom until that's resolved. So we're now going to go and click view and resolve. And we remember what the issue was. It was the deductible VAT. And as we said earlier, only the taxable basis and VAT amounts appear on the document total. So we need to go to the full document, which is the document detail view, and go to invoice properties and then invoice lines, and then have a look at, open these notes. So this is the value deductible VAT we're looking for. You can see here it's 0. The VAT amount is 0 as we expect. The taxable basis is 1,000, and then here we have 210 for the VAT reverse. So the piece that's missing is the deductible VAT, and we just need to update that as well. Now that we've completed the update, let's just save and reprocess. Let's wait a couple of seconds, hit apply, and we can see all of that, all the warning has disappeared. In terms of the customer VAT number check not being correct, and the supplier VAT number as well, these are just technical checks. So it's either the number of characters is not correct, or VAT reporting has just detected that this number is needs to be reviewed and it needs to be updated because it's just not following the format that's expected. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this can always be disabled here, but it's recommended to review this. And of course, because they're warnings that don't impact anything, these can also be left there as well. So that completes the training for errors and warnings.